Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to week 15 of our Torah portions covering Exodus 11 through Exodus 15. And like we always do, sometimes this is done before I start the recording, but Numbers 10:10, we shall blow the trumpet on his set apart days, feast days, Sabbaths, new moons. Let's get it. Good job, Boo. I hear you in the backdrop. Okay. All right, 1 second. Let me see here. So I have not shown the timeline in a little bit, and because I forgot. So we're going to start off with the timeline after the prayer, but we're going to start off with the timeline, get us back on track with that, and then we'll get on the reading. Let's pray all together, Yasharallah, over this Salam assembly. Heavenly Father, Haya in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thank you for allowing us to be here in your presence. Shabbat Shalom to you and your sons in the heavenly kingdom. We ask you to guide this message and bless this with the ruach of wisdom that you lay upon all of us, for not vanity, but guidance to be obedient in your name, Heavenly Father. In the name of Yasha, protect this line of fellowship. Amen. Amen, Yasharallah. All right. We are starting with the timeline. We see we are on week 15 today. So excuse me for not showing the timelines. Completely forgot. In week 13, the first week of Exodus, we were before Moses. We were at Aram, Moses' father, Aaron and Miriam, brother and sister, and then Moses was born. Then now this week, we're moving into where Joshua is really going to start being a figure here in the Exodus story, and where we have the great Exodus, the first Exodus, because there will be a second. This is where we're at, according to this timeline, around 1500 BC. All right. Let's get to it now. We're going to start in Exodus 11. It's a very, very short chapter. So we're going to read the whole thing in its entirety, and then we'll talk about it.
Exodus 11. And the Lord said unto Moses, Yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards, he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. And Moses said, Thus saith the Lord, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue, against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these thy servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee, and after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh. And the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land.
All right, so let's go to the Targum, chapter 11, verse 6 through 9. And there will be a great cry in all the land of Mizraim, because like the plague of this night, there has not been. And like the plague of this night, there never will be one. But any of the children of Yasharallah, a dog shall not harm, by lifting up his tongue against either man or beast, that they may know that Haya maketh distinction between the Mizraim Egyptians and the sons of Yasharallah. And thou shalt send down all thy servants to me, coming and beseeching me, saying, Go forth, thou and all the people who are with thee, and afterwards I will go. And he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. But the Adon said to Moshe, Pharaoh will not hearken unto you, that I may multiply my wonders in the land of Mizraim. All right. Making a point here. This is my wife asked me a question last week, and this is a very important point we have to understand. It's like, well, didn't the Most High harden Pharaoh's heart? And so in other words, is it really Pharaoh's fault if the Most High straight up tells you he has hardened his heart? And what's the purpose of hardening Pharaoh's heart? Why don't you just be like, if Pharaoh is going to let them go, then why don't you just let Pharaoh let them go? Well, it says this in verse 9, and it said this multiple times already in the book of Exodus. But Haya said to Moshe, Pharaoh will not hearken to you. And why? That I may multiply my wonders in the land of Mizraim. We read on this last week, and it was similar phrase that so the Israelites can see the great wonders of their Elohim, and so they can be saved from their rulers of the Egyptians, right? Is then you go, but all the plagues is on all of the Egyptians. Why is this happening to them if the Most High is hardening Pharaoh? Well, it comes to one thing, and this is where it comes down to. And you can like it or not, but this is our Creator choosing to do his will, because this is what it comes down to in 2 Esdras chapter 6, verse 56. As for the other nations which have descended from Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing. Let me say that again. They are nothing. And that they are like spit toll. And thou hast compared their abundance to a drop from a bucket. And someone just said in the chat, someone just said in the chat, doesn't it also suggest that Abba will allow some people to fall into delusion in the times of trials, tribulations? And that's the thing, the strong delusion. It's the same thing he did to the angels. He gave them up to what their heart desired. Pharaoh desired power. He desired authority. He was prideful. Hardening Pharaoh's heart was getting what Pharaoh wanted. Obviously, the outcome wasn't in his favor. It never was going to be in their favor. But Haya made this world for many to pull out the few. So, in other words, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All these other people and how the Most High chooses to mold his people, because this is how he's choosing to mold and show his people. And even to the day that we're in now, he is molding us based off of the stories that we're reading right now in this Torah portion, or is he not? But still, Blair, the people that are Egyptians are choosing to follow their gods. Because if you remember, last week during the plagues, some of the Egyptians was already started to hearken to the Most High. Remember the hail? And some of the Egyptians obviously brought their livestock inside because there was a warning of hail. And then we're going to read that in the Exodus, some Egyptians also leave with the Israelites. So it's not spoken into in a lot of details, but there are Egyptians here that has been hearkening to the word the entire time. That's why they were saved and why they left with the Israelites. And then we also read in Jasher last week that there is the opposite. There were Israelites that was not hearkening to the Most High during this time, and they were plagued. So the common denominator is not the fact that necessarily Egyptians versus Israelites. It is those that are choosing to be obedient and cleave to Israel, and those that choose to be disobedient and cleave to the Egyptians. Because we see both sides. We see both sides in the book of Jasher and in these Torah portions, that there are Egyptians that are saved and that are hearkening to the word, and there are Israelites that aren't saved because they're not hearkening to the word. And that's the point. Just because they were Israelites, that didn't save them, did it? Obedience saves his people. Even the Egyptians that has hearkened to the word are saved and are delivered out of Egypt, are they not? So to say, well, the Most High's hardening his heart, no, the Most High's giving Pharaoh exactly what he wanted. And then we have to understand this world is built to mold the elect and the few. Everyone else, honestly, is just a pawn in the world, and they were born here to just live this one life, because this world wasn't meant to survive this world and have a bigger purpose. And that was based off of their decisions. Every individual is based on their decision. So if Haya wants to use Pharaoh and the Egyptians as to show his authority and deliverance, then he will, because they wasn't going to make it anyway. And the Egyptians that are to make it, we see little drops of them throughout that's being obedience throughout Scripture. So let's just make this clear. Remember, the last Pharaoh, the Pharaoh during Joseph's time, was blessed. Was he not? Yes, he was. Because he obviously was more willing to listen and to be obedient to someone like Joseph that had authority of the Most High within him. This Pharaoh is not that guy, and the opposite happens. And remember, the before the Most High was even hardening his heart, that Pharaoh, once he stepped on the scene when we read in the book of Jasher, if you can remember, was harsh and wanted the worst for the Israelites from the beginning. So let's remember the origin story of these people before we start saying, well, why would he harden his heart, da, 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 da. It's because that's what he wanted. He didn't want to let the people go, did he not? Let's remember, did this Pharaoh want to let the Israelites go the moment he began his reign? No, he didn't. All he wanted was the worst for them. So he got what he wanted, didn't he? There are multiple pharaohs that has been blessed through hearkening to the word. This is not that guy. So I just want to make that point there. And now we're about to start the last plague. That's all I have for Exodus 11. All right, Exodus 12. Let's get it.
Exodus 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door post of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt.
All right, 1 through 13, we're going to take a pause there. And I can talk so much. Exodus 12 has some legit points for the calendar. But I talk about a calendar all the time. I feel like every week there's something with the calendar, and I have plenty of stuff. So I'm not going to harp on the calendar really in this study, but I'll make some suggestive points. So we're going to go to the Targums now. Chapter 12. We're going to read verse 2 and 3. This month is ordained to be to you the beginning of months. And when you search out scripture, you see that he's specifying this being the beginning of months because at the beginning of creation, the beginning of months was our 7th month. So they started for whatever reason the Most High wanted. At the beginning of creation, when he created the luminaries and the calendar originally, it started off in our 7th month. It was flipped. This is why he's specifying that this month is ordained to be to you the beginning of months, because it wasn't always the beginning of months. And from it, you shall begin to number for festivals, times, and cycles. It shall be to you the first of the month of, first of the number of the months of the year. Like I said, I can elaborate more, but this is just simply saying everything starts at this month. The festival, the timing of the festivals, the times of the year, and the cycles of the year all starts at the beginning of the year, which we know now as spring/Abib. In verse 3, speak to all the congregation of Yasharallah, saying, in the 10th of this month, whose time is appointed for this time or occasion, and not for the coming generations, they shall take to them a lamb for a house of the family, and if many in number, they shall take a lamb for a house. All right, so I put this verse here. Here in the Targum, it clearly tells us that we're not supposed to wipe actual blood all over our doorposts every year, right? I mean, at least in this translation, is telling us that this is for this occasion only, whose time is appointed for this occasion and not for the coming generations. So we keep Passover, but the idea of the actual blood, and that's another thing too, in our generation, we don't even have lambs. We shouldn't even be sacrificing actual lambs for the Most High, because we have our eternal lamb. So this is definitely for our time, especially that we don't have an actual sacrificial lamb. Yes, eat lamb, totally different than having an altar and sacrificing it, taking his blood and putting it on your doorpost. That's a lot different than having lamb for food, for dinner. And we know that the blood is symbolic of Messiah, our eternal sacrifice. Let me see here. You know what? I gotta do it. Gotta do it. I didn't put the New Testament. Where am I at? Where should I go? I didn't put the New Testament precept, but I definitely should. Let me do that real quick. The next day, John seeth Yasha coming unto him and says, behold, the Lamb of Elohim, which taketh away the sin of the world. Amen. And that lamb and the blood of the lamb is the word that we should be obedient to. They are one in the same. All right, back in, we're going to read more in the Targums now. We're going to go down to 8 and 9. And you shall eat the flesh on that night, the 15th. Oh, okay, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I thought I was reading ahead. No, I'm not. This is correct. All right. And you shall eat the flesh on that night, the 15th of Abib, until the dividing of the night, roasted with fire, without leaven, with horehound and lettuce shall you eat it. So I'm reading this verse to just show you a couple of the bitter herbs, because in the Masoretic, is it verse 8, we see that it just says bitter herbs. Roast with fire, unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. The Targums gives us a couple of examples of bitter herbs. Horehound and lettuce. All right, just throwing that there. Let's go to verse 9 here. Eat not of it while living, neither boiled in wine or oil or other fluids, neither boiled in water. So we'll take these instructions, right? We're still consuming the lamb on our Passovers in our day. So no liquids, boiled in any liquids, not just water. This is specifying wine, oil, or any other fluids, all right? But roasted with fire, with his head, his feet, and his inwards. So, obviously, we just do to our best ability. Having a lot of us don't have the capabilities of doing all of this, but if you can roast a whole lamb, I don't see why not. I do not see why not. All right, so and then we're going to go to verse 12 and 13, staying in the Targums. Gotta know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing and you can pull it off, you can find a lamb, clean lamb, and do all this, the cutting, the skinning and all. I mean, if you're able to do all that, then by all means, I don't see why not. All right, verse 12 and 13. And I will be revealed in the land of Mizraim in the majesty of my glory this night. And with me 90,000 myriads of destroying angels. And I will slay all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, of man and of beast. Against all the idols of the Mizraim, I will execute 4 judgments. And let's remember this. We actually see this precept correlates to the book of Jasher. The Targums, for the most part, in the book of Jasher, they are a really good couple. They both say things that's not in any of the Masoretic, but they are on the same page on a lot of different points that are not said in the Masoretic canon right now. So remember this line. We'll touch on this later. And against all the idols of Mizraim, I will execute 4 judgments. The molten idols shall be melted. The idols of stone be broken. The idols of clay shall be shattered. And the idols of wood be made dust, that the Mizraim may know that I am Hayah. So we're going to take 2 things from this. We see that on the night that he comes with the firstborn plague, he brings, who's the one that destroys the firstborn? The destroyers, destroying angels. And I'm going to show you that these are all throughout scripture. Destroying angels are the ones that come and kill the firstborn of anyone that didn't keep the commandments. And then we see that also in the same night, he's coming to destroy the idols. We're going to see both of these correlating again and again. So take those 2 with you. And then verse 13, in the blood of the lamb oblation, Pesach, Passover oblation, like the matter of circumcision, shall be a bale for you. So the blood of the lamb is something like circumcision. Both of these things have to do with keeping commandments and covenant, right? You keep the blood, the blood of the lamb is a covenant through Messiah in the word. Circumcision is the covenant through Abba from the beginning with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And these 2 things bail you out, don't they? We read what happened to Moshe when he didn't circumcise his son. It was the opposite. It was the opposite of a bail, right? To become a sign upon the houses where you dwell. And I will look upon the worth of the blood and will spare you. And the angel of death, see, the angel of death is the same thing as a destroying angel. To whom is given the power to destroy. See, the angel of death, destroy. Same thing, shall have no dominion over you in the slaughter of the Mizraim. All right, so we're about to go down quite a few verses here. Let's get it. So we're going to see in Exodus, where am I at? Right here. We're going to see in Exodus, I mean, I'm already going to show you, but we're going to read Exodus 12:23 in a little bit, just showing you that when the plague comes, who comes for the firstborn? Suffer the destroyer, the angel of death / the destroying angels. All throughout scripture, Job 15:21, a dreadful sound is in his ears, and prosperity, the destroyer, same deities, shall come upon him. Psalm 17:4, concerning the works of men, by the word of thy lips I have kept me from the paths of the destroyer. Jeremiah 4:7, the lion is come up from the thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles. And this is 100%. I like this verse because the only destroyers are destroyers of the Gentiles, meaning the fallen angels are put over those that worship foreign gods, right? Who are those that worship foreign gods? Gentiles. So the fallen angels are the angels of death that plagues people for not keeping the commandments of the Most High, which are the same destroyers that are over the Gentile nations. And I'm going to prove this to you as we keep going. The angels put over this, if y'all remember in the book of Genesis, we went over the 70 nations and then the 70 angels over the nations. All of those angels are destroyers. Think about it. If you are a Greek and you follow the Greek gods, what would happen to your soul? What would happen to your life? You will be destroyed because that's the deception that they're here for. All right? Is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy city shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. 1 Corinthians 10:10, neither murmur ye as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed by the destroyer. And 1 Corinthians tells us it's a destroying angel, but Numbers doesn't. Numbers doesn't tell us it's actually a destroying angel, but all of the angels that come and bring death upon his people are destroyers. As we see in Numbers 21, this is what this is referring to. Those that has murmured and was destroyed by destroyers, this is a precept referring to Numbers 21. The murmuring is this right here. And the people spoke against Elohim and against Moses. Wherefore have ye brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? That's the murmuring right there. For there is no bread, neither is there any water in our soul, loafest this light bread. And then here's the destroyer getting sent upon them. And the Most High sent fiery serpents or basilisk serpents. So there's a reason why the devil is called a serpent in the garden, because the fallen angels, those watchers, angels of death, and destroyers are all the same things. And all of them are serpents. These are all the same things, just different names. So if you want to go through scripture and pull out all the times it says fiery or basilisk serpents, those are actually angels. Anytime it says angel of death, destroyers, all of these are fallen angels, all of them. So he sent fiery serpents among the people. And yes, it could have been actual serpents with the motivation and the mindset of being led by actual angels, though, just to put it in context. Like, they could be actually serpents sent to them in this story in Numbers, but it's led through the guide of fallen angels. And they bit the people, and much of the people of Israel died. Let's continue. We see this in a story when this is set up when David numbered his people. You're not just, if you don't know, David wasn't supposed to number his people, have a census without the Most High's permission as a king. And he did it anyway, and he got punished. And so this was the punishment. So the Most High sent a pestilence upon Yasharallah from the morning, evening to the time appointed. And there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, because this is an angel of death, that is a destroyer. And what other angels would have a delight into doing this, by the way? Those that are not righteous, right? And Haya repented him of the evil and said to the angel that destroyed the people, it is enough. Stay now thy hand. And the angel of the Most High was by the threshing place of Ara Unah, the Jebusite, and David spoke unto the Most High when he saw the angel that smote the people. And yeah, that's just going more into the story, just putting that in context for you. All right, and now I'm going to go to show you that some are even called destroyers, like it's the meaning of their names. Apollo is one of the only angels actually named in the 66 book canon. Either Apollo or Apollyon in 9/11, or you can also say Abaddon or Abaddon. Proverbs 27:20, and if there's actually, I think 2 or 3 more times Abaddon is mentioned, and that is, as we see right here, Abaddon is Hebrew for Apollyon. And the word Abaddon literally means a destroying angel. I mean, can you get any more clear than this? Apollo, one of the gods put over the 70 nations, like I said, is a destroyer. And it even obviously Apollo in Greek also means destroyer because it's the same deity, same name description. And we also see this in the Indian culture. This is in Hinduism. Shiva is also a god of destruction. And this is in front of CERN. It's a worldwide symbol. Another destroying angel that literally tells you it's a destroyer. So this stuff is not a secret. It's right in your face. These correlate right with the Bible, and people don't even notice that destroyers that are called from other nations, angels of other nations, this is what the canon is talking about. This is what scriptures is talking about. All right. So we got an idea of what's about to happen. These angels, these destroyers, about to come upon Egypt, and this is their job, legit their job, to plague people that don't keep the commandments like themselves. All right, so let's read 14 through 28 now.
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation. And in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat. That only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread, until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel, and said unto them, Draw out, and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when ye be come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he hath promised, that ye shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians, and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head, and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away, and did, as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they.
All righty. Let's see here. All right, we're going to the Aramaic Targum. We're going to read 15 and 16. Let's get it. "7 days you shall eat unleavened bread in the dividing of the day, which precedeth the feast. You shall put away leaven from your houses. For whosoever eateth what is leavened from the first day of the feast until the 7th day, that man shall be destroyed." Let me look. There was a reason why I put this one. So something is said in verse 15. Let me look 1 second. 7 days ye shall eat leavened bread, even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. Okay, yeah. In verse 15 in the canon, it sounds like when we just read it, it says 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread, even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. So it's like and just basically put, it sounds like it's telling you to take the leaven out of your home on the first day. On the first day, ye shall put away leaven out of your houses, right? But we know that the leaven is supposed to be gone already. And so I took the verse 15 in the Targums, and I just wanted to read it from there because it sounds a lot better. Because we shouldn't be putting away leaven on unleavened bread like the actual feast day, because the first day of unleavened bread is a feast day, it's a Shabbat. So just the way that's written out, if you just reading it, trying to get instructions, it sounds a little weird. It sounds like on the first day you should be doing it. In the Targum, it tells us, in the dividing of the day which precedes the feast, you shall put away leaven from your home, from your houses. So this is specifying that this was supposed to be happening at the dividing of the day. This is talking about at evening of obviously before Passover, which precedes the feast. You shall put away the leaven from your houses, not on the first day of unleavened bread. That's a little bit confusing if you're looking for just straight instructions from the word. So that's why I wanted to read that. Because I don't know. I mean, for me, when I was reading it in the canon, you know, I'm reading scripture for what it says. I'm like, this straight up says, the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. I'm like, that should be gone. You shouldn't be doing leaven work on the day of unleavened bread. All right, let's continue in the Targums though. In verse 16, and on the first day there shall be a holy convocation, a Sabbath. This is the first day of unleavened bread. And on the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation, in the seventh day of unleavened bread. So the first Sabbath is the what some refer to in scripture and in the world. This is the Passover Sabbath. This is the Passover that is grouped. This is the Sabbath that is grouped with Passover. Yes, the meal in evening after the 14th day is a Sabbath, but also the first day after that belongs to that evening. So the evening following the 14th day, if you've looked into my luminary studies or calendar studies, you should know this. The evening following the 14th day belongs to the day that follows, which is the 15th day. That's why in the beginning of creation story in Genesis chapter 1, it tells us that pattern. There was evening and there was morning. Day 1, because the evening belongs to the morning, that following day. And that's, I want to specify on this. A lot of people don't realize how the calendar works. Why the first day of unleavened bread belongs to the Feast of Pesach, because the Feast of Pesach belongs to the first day of unleavened bread. I hope that's clear. If it's not, then you need to study up on the plenty of studies I have on the calendar, all right? I go into this detail over and over again, multiple times on multiple videos, all right? So the first day is the Feast of Pesach, the evening and the day. And then the last day of unleavened bread is the actual Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's not Pesach, all right? No work shall be done among you. Only that which must be done for everyone's eating may be done by you. Did y'all catch this, family? What? Yes. This is what Torah portions do. I don't know if you caught it yet, because this is off topic a little bit, but there is a huge debate on can you cook food on the Sabbath day? For some reason, I've never seen anybody use this verse, and I was doing the Torah portion studies, and it straight up tells you right here. And the best thing about it, it gives an example of 2 Sabbaths. He tells us the first and the 7th Sabbath of unleavened bread. You have no work should be done on these days. Wait a minute. But what is the thing that is specified that you can do? Only that which must be done for everyone's eating may be done by you. Blows my mind. This is a home run. And then let's go to the canon. It says it obviously translated a little different. It's the same thing though. Verse 16. Save that no manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Worded not as good as the Targums, but it's saying the same thing. No work except what that needs to be done for people to eat. Now, let me specify. Preparation, grocery shopping, Gathering things like back in the day, they had to go to the well to get water or go to their vineyard or in their garden. All of this stuff should be done. Preparation for your food and everything you need is on preparation day, the day before. But it tells you outside of preparation, only that which must be done for everyone's eating may be done. It's not considered a work that he's talking about. It's a feast day. Get it? Feast day. So we cook it on the Sabbath. Like I've been saying, I've been telling people, do whatever you want. My family cooks on the Sabbath. We cook when he wants us to feast with him. And I use other verses, but now this verse just solidifies it. Good gracious, it solidifies it. If you have a dishwasher, empty your dishwasher. Put your dishes in the sink as you finish your meals, right? A quick rinse and throw it in the dishwasher, easy peasy. So, because I hear some people say, oh, well, cookies is work to me. Well, it's not work to the Most High that he's talking about. Yeah, there you go. Paper plates on the Shabbat. That's a win. I've always said this. If you don't want to cook, I don't think you're going to get punished if you want to have grapes, fruit, salads, and cereal. But he tells us only that which must be done for everyone's eating may be done by you. It sounds like cooking. What else would that be? Because he's not talking about preparation. We know he's not talking about preparation. And how do we know that? Well, let's go. Let's go to, oh, I think I actually missed putting this here. I think I did. Yep, I did put it here. 1 second. It's right here. Let's go to Exodus 16. And I'm going to try to prove this point to you. And if you're watching this and you still don't want to cook, like I'm telling you, you're not getting condemned if you don't want to cook or you still feel convicted about cooking because it feels like work, even though he tells you it's not the work he's talking about. If you don't feel comfortable with cooking, then don't cook. But you're taking away a good thing that the Most High has given us permission to do for your family. If you don't want to cook, then that means you're depriving your family of a feast day. Just throwing it out there, especially with what I'm showing you right now. This is what I mean with preparation. Exodus, we're going to about to be in Exodus 16, but I'm going to bring it up now. And when we see it, then we'll just recap, right? Exodus 16 is what people use for the cookings, to not cook. Well, let's actually go over this verse. Exodus 16, 22 through 28. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, so the day before the Sabbath, the preparation day, they gathered twice as much bread. So preparation day, what do? They gathering everything they need the day before the Sabbath. 2 omers for 1 man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which the Most High has said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Most High. Bake that which ye will bake today, seethe that ye will seethe. So pretty much cook what you're going to cook today, and that which remains over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning. So if everything obviously needs to be cooked, why is he telling you to leave something for morning that isn't cooked? Because evidently he's saying cook what you're going to cook and then leave what isn't cooked. Leave the rest. Let's continue with this point though. And they laid it up till the morning as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worms therein. And this is talking about manna. So this is not regular food. This is bigger details. We'll see it when we get there. And Moses said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto the Most High. Today ye shall not find it in the field, because he's trying to show them all this chapter is not about cooking. This chapter is all about preparation and being prepared for everything you want for the Sabbath day. This is why they reiterated it beforehand, that you're gathering twice as much for the night of the dinner on the 6th day and then the 7th day. And then right after it says, today ye shall not find it in the field. He's telling you he don't want you going out and gathering and still trying to find things on the Sabbath. And now let's keep reading, and it proves the point. 6 days ye shall gather it, but, and see, once again, he's telling you, but on the 7th day, which is a Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass, so all of it over and over again, gather. You won't find it in the field. Gather twice as much. And here's the point. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. And the Most High said to Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? How can people use this about cooking? Everything about this, wait a minute, what did they say that they were breaking the commandments? It was gathering. Gathering, that you're not prepared for the Sabbath. This passage has absolutely nothing to do with cooking on the Sabbath. Before it, after it, and then when he says they broke the commandments, it was all about going out and gathering. Nothing to do with cooking. He says, cook what you will cook today and leave the rest for tomorrow. He didn't say cook what you will cook today because you won't be able to cook tomorrow. So I'm just throwing it out there. All right. And let's go back here. And Joseph in the comment section, you're contradicting scripture. He literally just says, we just read in 12:16 that on the Sabbath days, it says, no work shall be done, only that which must be done for everyone's eating. If you're supposed to fast, then why is he telling you to be able to do things for your eating? I'm just going to leave it at that. And then even what we just read in Exodus, Exodus 16, he literally tells you that they're going to have food for tomorrow. That's what, it straight up says. It says, and then it says, they lay up for you to be kept until morning, and they laid it up till the morning, and Moses bathed it, and it did not stink, neither was there any worms therein. It literally is telling you that he's providing them food on the Sabbath day. Doesn't make any sense. Just throwing it out there. Like, there's clearly food on the Sabbath day. All right, well, yeah, no problem. Gotcha. Sorry, y'all. I only can see little parts of this the comment section as I go, and I'm trying to follow along. And when I'm doing this, I'm not trying to be harsh. I know I can sound loud and whatnot. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just telling you in context. It's very clear in context of what we're showing here. That there is food being consumed on Sabbath days. Now we know that Day of Atonement is not a feast day. We know that, but that's why it gives us specific instructions for Day of Atonement as well. That is different from the other feast days. That's why right here in Exodus 12, we are seeing in Exodus 12, he straight up gives us instructions right here about eating. And then in Day of Atonement, it gives us instructions about fasting. So he's telling us how to do it. We just got to listen and read it in context. All right, man. When I was reading this, family, I don't know if it was reading it in the Targum or what. It just blew me away, though. That's all I want to say. That it blew me away that when there's the argument about eating, cooking on the Sabbath, that I have never seen anybody use Exodus 12:16. So now, each and every one of you, Mark this in your books, highlight it, Exodus 12:16. Honestly, and that's why I went over Exodus 16 at the same time, because majority of people will use Exodus 16. Now you read it in context. It's all about preparation and gathering. And then Exodus 12 clearly tells you, do what you need to do for people to eat. All right, let's lay that to rest. All right, I got one more verse I want to read in the Targums real quick before I move forward. Verse 23. For the glory of the Adon will manifest in striking the Mizraim, and he will see the blood upon the lintel and upon the two posts. And the word, this is the main reason why I brought this up, the word of the Most High will spread his protection over the door. So the word is the protector, and Hasatan is the destroying angel, will not be permitted to enter your houses to smite. There's nothing new under the sun. The word and the blood has always been the protector from the very beginning. Now we're getting in our first dive into the book of Jasher in this Torah portion. Chapter 80, verse 41 and 42. All right, here we are. In the days of darkness passed away, and the Most High sent Moses and Aaron to the children of Yasharallah, saying, celebrate your feast and make your Passover. For behold, I come in the midst of the night amongst all the Egyptians. And I will smite all their firstborn, from the firstborn of a man to the firstborn of beast. And when I see your Passover, I will pass over you. And verse 42. And the children of Yasharallah did according to all that the Adon had commanded Moses and Aaron. Thus did they in that night. All right, we're going to read the rest of chapter 12, 29 through 51 now.
And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord, as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds, as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people, that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses. And they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt, and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel, who dwelt in Egypt, was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed unto the Lord for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Thus did all the children of Israel, as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that the Lord did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies.
All right. Going into the Targum, verse 29. And it was the dividing of the night of the 15th that the word of the Adon slew all the firstborn. And let's go, like to try to compare with so verse 29 to verse 29 in here. So let's go to verse 29 in the canon. All right, so it says midnight. It just says midnight here in the Targum. It says it was in dividing of the night of the 15th that the word of the Adon slew all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim. See, this is my point. The Targum has this right. It says the night of the 15th. So many people think it's the night of the 14th because it says at evening on the 14th. But once it becomes night and the sun is fully set, the night is the 15th. That night belongs to the 15th day. Exactly what I was talking about earlier. And that's why the first day of unleavened bread is like paired with the feast of Passover, because it happens at night of the 15th. So the night of the 15th is Passover meal. The day of the 15th is the first day of unleavened bread / the feast of Pesach, the day feast of Pesach. From the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who would have sat upon the throne of his kingdom, unto the firstborn sons of the kings, who were captive in the dungeon as hostages under Pharaoh's hand, and who, for having rejoiced at the servitude of Yasharallah, were punished as the Mizraim, and all the firstborn of the cattle that did the work of the Egyptians died also. And then we're going to verse 40 through 42. And the days of dwelling of the sons of Yasharallah in Mizraim was 30 weeks, 30 times 7 years, which is the sum of 210 years. So let's go to verse 40 in the canon. And it just says, who dwelt in Egypt 430 years. This is not correct. This is actually a mistranslation in the canon. They were not in Egypt for 430 years. And we see this in the book of Jasher. That is a good precept for the Targums. That they were, the 430 years was a time that the covenant was made to Abraham. That was when he was in the land of Canaan, all the way to the time that they left Egypt, until they actually was going to go and get the land that was promised to them. The time that they were in Egypt is, as spoken here in the Targum, 210 years. But the number of 430 years had passed away since the Most High spoke to Abraham in the hour that he spoke with him on the 15th. I didn't know it was that day, but the unleavened bread, the day of unleavened bread, the Targum says he spoke to Abraham. This is pretty much the same self day that they were delivered out of Egypt, was the day that he made the covenant with Abraham. Let me see. Okay. Between the divided parts until the day that they went out of Egypt. All right. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm gonna read 41 and 42 also in the Targum. And it was at the end of 30 years from the making of this covenant that Isaac was born. And this until they went out of Egypt 400 years on the selfsame day. It was that all the host of the Most High went forth, made free from the land of Egypt. I read this verse in a couple of studies, but in the canon, it just says in verse 42 that it is a night to be much observed unto the Most High for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Most High to be observed. So let's read this same verse 42 in the Targum. 4 nights, not just that night. This says 4 nights they're written in the book of memorials before the Most High of this world. Night the first, when he was revealed in creating the world. The second, when he was revealed to Abraham, which we just read. We literally just read that. The third, when he was revealed in Mizraim, his hand killing all the firstborn of Mizraim, in his right hand saving the firstborn of Israel. So, like you said, his hand, the other angels, but his right hand, the word Messiah, saving the firstborn. The fourth, when he will yet be revealed to liberate the people of the house of Israel from among the nations. He's going to do it again. Second Exodus right there, y'all. And all these are called nights to be observed. For so explained Moshe and said thereof, it is to be observed on the account of the liberation which is from the dawn to lead forth the people of the sons of Yasharallah from the land of Mizraim. This is that night of preservation from the destroying angel for all the sons of Yasharallah who were in Mizraim, and of redemption of their generations from their captivity. So at least in the Aramaic Targum, there is a prophecy of the second coming already in Exodus chapter 12. Very cool. All right, now we're going back to the book of Jasher. Reading the rest of chapter 80 now. And it came to pass in the middle of the night that the dawn went forth in the midst of Egypt and smote all of the firstborn of the Egyptians, from the firstborn of a man to the firstborn of beasts. And Pharaoh rose up in that night, he and all his servants, all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry throughout Egypt in that night, for there was not a house in which there was not a corpse. Also the likeness of the firstborn of Egypt, which were carved in the walls at their houses, were destroyed and fell to the ground. Remember, I told y'all to remember that. In the Targums, we read, I'm gonna go back. We read, I think it was, Oh, I'm in chapter 10. Went too far back. That's why. There we go. Oh, I am all over the place. I'm in the wrong spots. Where is it? I forgot what verse it was in. Now, I'm already in the search. I'm going to find it now. Let me see. Here we go. Excuse me. 12:12 in Exodus. Targum says, and against all the idols of Mizraim, I will execute 4 judgments, pretty much destroying the idols of the Egyptians. And Jasher is a precept for it. Also the likeness of the firstborn of Egypt, which were carved in the walls at their houses, were destroyed and fell to the ground. How cool. Even the bones of their firstborn who had died before this, whom they had buried in their houses, were raked up by the dogs of Egypt on that night and dragged before the Egyptians and cast before them. And all the Egyptians saw this evil, which had suddenly come upon them. And all the Egyptians cried out with a loud voice. And all the families of Egypt wept upon that night, with each man for his son and each man for his daughter, being the firstborn. The tumult of Egypt was heard at a distance on that night. And Bathia, the daughter of Pharaoh, went forth with the king on that night to seek Moses and Aaron in their houses. And they found them in their houses, eating and drinking and rejoicing with all Yasharallah. That's how you're supposed to celebrate a feast day, Yasharallah. That's how you're supposed to celebrate it right there. And there's death all around them. They're protected though. And Bathia said to Moses, is this the reward for the good which I have done to thee, who have yeared thee and stretched thee, and thou hast brought this evil upon me and my father's house? And Moses said to her, surely 10 plagues did the Most High bring unto Egypt. Did any evil occur to thee from any of them? Did one of them affect thee? She said, no. Moses said to her, although thou art the firstborn to thy mother, thou shalt not die, and no evil shall reach thee in the midst of Egypt. Interesting, right? And she said, what advantage is it to me when I see the king, my brother, all his household and subjects in this evil, whose firstborn perished with all the firstborn of Egypt? And Moses said to her, surely thy brother and his household and subjects, the families of Egypt, would not hearken to the words of the Most High. And this is what we spoke about in the beginning. This is all it was about. That's all it's always been about. Hearkening to the word. Therefore did this evil come upon them. And Pharaoh, king of Egypt, approached Moses and Aaron and some of the children of Yasharallah who were with them in that place. And he prayed to them, saying, rise up and take your brother and all the children of Israel who are in the land with their sheep and oxen and all belonging to them. They shall leave nothing remaining. Only pray for me to the Adon your Elohim. And Moses said to Pharaoh, behold, though thou art thy mother's firstborn, yet fear not, for thou wilt not die. So, wow, according to the book of Jasher, the Pharaoh was a firstborn son, so he should have passed. For the Most High has commanded that thou shalt live, in order to show thee his might and strong stretched out arm. And Pharaoh ordered the children of Israel to be sent away, and all the Egyptians strengthened themselves to send them, for they said, we are all perishing. And all the Egyptians sent the Israelites forth with great riches, sheep and oxen and precious things, according to the oath of the Adon between him and our father Abraham. And the children of Israel delayed going forth at night. And when the Egyptians came to them to bring them out, they said to them, "Are we thieves that we should go forth at night?" And the children of Israel asked of the Egyptians vessels of silver and vessels of gold and garments. And the children of Israel stripped the Egyptians. And Moses hastened and rose up and went to the river of Egypt and brought up from this the coffin of Joseph and took it with him. The children of Israel also brought up each man his father's coffin with him, and each man the coffin of his tribe. So interesting point here too, is that they didn't leave at night. So the entire time that Pharaoh was getting them to go was they had their loins girded, staff in their hand, but they were collecting the gold vessels and the silver and all of these things, and they did not go in the night. They collected all their stuff in haste, and then they departed, I'm assuming, at sunrise. Just an interesting point there. And we're going to go verse 1 through 5 in chapter 81. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides the little ones and their wives. Also a mixed multitude. There's that mixed multitude. Obviously, Egyptians was hearkening to the word at this time, went up with them in flocks and herds, even much cattle. And the sojourners of the children of Israel who dwelt in the land of Egypt in the hard labor was 210 years. There's the precept I was talking about. The book of Jasher confirms what we talked about in the Targums, that it wasn't 430 years in Egypt. 210 years was in Egypt, and the other 220 was the time from Abraham to the time that Joseph and all of them got brought into Egypt from the famine, was the other 220 years. And at the end of the 210 years, the Most High brought forth the children of Israel from Egypt with a strong hand. And the children of Israel traveled from Egypt and from Goshen and from Ramses and encamped in Succoth on the 15th day of the first month. So they did all of that in the first day that they left. All right. Yep, and I believe that is all I have for chapter 12. Yeah, so moving to chapter 13. Chapter 13, we're going to read verses 1 through 16.
Exodus 13. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came ye out in the month Abib. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck. And all the firstborn of man among thy children shalt thou redeem. And it shall be, when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, What is this? That thou shalt say unto him, By strength of hand the Lord brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males, and all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And it shall be for a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes, for by strength of hand the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt.
Woo, man, I'm telling you, this Torah portion is packed. So good, such good information right here in Exodus. I knew Exodus was going to be one book that was going to be very joyful to read, and I'm loving it. Getting so much out of these Torah portions. All right, so I want to reiterate, we talked about in the beginning of this portion of why was Pharaoh's heart hardened. Well, this is, over and over again, it tells us that thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because which the Most High did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. That is a memorial. In the timing also, we have of Passover and what Passover meant. And if he would have just let Pharaoh let the people go, even though he was a bad person and da-da-da-da-da, then the sign of the firstborn wouldn't have been relevant. Passover wouldn't have been relevant. So all these things are used to mold his people. Once again, he's doing this to show his people, even us standing here right now in the present, what he would do for his people and the meaning behind it. And now we're going to get on the meaning of the firstborn in this chapter, because this chapter, the majority of this chapter is about the firstborn and the redeeming of the firstborn of the cattle and male, because they are his. So we see, let me see. You see that word matrix? That is that means womb, if you do not know. Oh, where we going? That thou shalt set apart all that opens the womb, every firstling that cometh of beasts which thou hast, the male shall be the Most High's. Every firstling of ass, then right here we go. Every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem, so sacrifice with the lamb. If thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck. And all the firstborn of man among thy children shall thou redeem. Some confusing parts here that I've been asked in times past, so we're going to go over this. Be born out of water and spirit. The womb has water. That's interesting. That's interesting indeed. Obviously, we do things. This is this redeem. We get the baptism part, and then we talk about how baptism, you have to be old enough to be baptized because you are choosing to be born again. The redeeming of the children, this happens in the first month, as we're about to read. So let's go 1 second. I want to make sure I'm not skipping something in review. Yes. All right. I just want to read some things in context so we can understand. Both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore, I sacrifice to the Most High all that opens the womb, being males. But all the firstborn of my children I redeem. All right. Very important, because when you read some of these parts, it talks about redeeming the firstborn of male and man. So I've been asked before, this sounds like did they were supposed to sacrifice their children, like you're sacrificing the animals? And of course not. That is the glory of the Most High, is that he is allowing you to redeem it. And then that's what I was saying with this context. He says, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And then he tells us of animals, of beast, the firstborn of beast. So he says firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. So the firstborn of beast, therefore I sacrifice to the Most High that opens up the womb. But all the firstborn of my children of man I redeem. So the firstborn of beast is redeemed by sacrifice. The firstborn of man is redeemed a different way, and that's in context of scripture. So let's now go to it. Numbers 8. Numbers has a lot of things on this topic. That's why we have 3 verses. All 3 of these are all on the redemption of the firstborn. Numbers 8:17, just reiterating, for all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctify them for myself. No, that's not how you redeem the children. That's totally separate. The redeeming of animals and the children are not together. You redeeming an animal is not going to redeem a person. So let's pay attention here. Animal sacrifice didn't redeem the firstborn. It straight up tells you, if you didn't redeem a firstborn of an ass, for example, you break his neck because you didn't do your part. So you kill the ass that is the firstborn. You kill him. And the reason why they said you redeem an ass, a donkey, you redeem it through a lamb, because you couldn't redeem an unclean, you couldn't sacrifice an unclean animal. Donkeys are unclean. So in place of an unclean animal, since you can't put them on a righteous, clean altar, then you put a lamb in its place. But you sacrifice the animals, and that's how you redeem the animals as that. How do you redeem the firstborn males or the males? So now we got Numbers 18. Everything that opens the matrix or womb in all flesh, which they bring unto the Most High, whether it be of men or beasts, shall be thine. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man shalt thou surely redeem, and the firstling of an unclean beast shalt thou redeem. And those that are to be redeemed from a month old, so this is within a month, shalt thou redeem, according to thy estimation. For the money of 5 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary is 20 gerahs. So, this is a whole nother study that we're going to get, and we're going to read in context in Numbers and throughout the Torah. But you took your firstborn, you sacrificed the beast, or you put a clean animal in its place to be sacrificed. Like we read about the donkey and the lamb. But for the man, for men, obviously babies that are firstborn, you took them to the altar and you redeem them by literally giving the money of 5 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary. That's literally what they're doing. So how do you redeem a firstborn? You take them to the altar of the priest, you bring your firstborn, and then you pay 5 shekels, and it is a redemption. And some of you may be like, man, that's weird. So you got to give money to redeem your firstborn? Yes, there's a purpose in this though. And that's why I didn't need to add Numbers 3, but I did, because I wanted to for everyone to gather understanding of the whole process of how this works. So animals you sacrifice. Through the firstborn of man, you give 5 shekels to the priest of the sanctuary. And let's read why. Numbers 3, I'm going to read 11 through 13 and then 45. And the Most High spoke unto Moses, saying, and I, behold, I have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel, instead of all the firstborn that opens the womb among the children of Israel. Therefore the Levites shall be mine, because all the firstborn are mine. For on the day that I smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I hallowed unto me all the firstborn in Israel, both man and beast. Mine shall they be. I am Haya. And then let's put it all together. 45. Take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, in the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle. The Levites shall be mine. I am Haya. So let me put this together, because like I said, I'm only reading little passages, because we're not going to read all of Numbers and Leviticus and all of that right now. I just want to give you understanding moving forward. The Levites, when you go to the sanctuary and you sacrifice a lamb, does that lamb get thrown away if the Most High doesn't come down and consume it with fire? Yeah, I know that only happens a few times in the canon, that fire comes down from heavens and consumes a sacrifice. That's not normal. From week to week sacrifices, new moon to new moon sacrifices, feast day to feast day sacrifices. The Most High doesn't consume their sacrifices all throughout the Old Testament. Those sacrifices is food. Why would they throw away food if the Most High doesn't consume it with a pillar of fire? It's because that food belongs to the Levites. The Levites is his portion. Instead of the firstborn, he has taken the Levites, the priest. So how do Levites eat if their work is priestly duties? They don't get paid real money, but do they? They get paid food through the sacrifices. They consume the food that you sacrifice to the sanctuary. But they still need money to buy other things, right? Well, here you go. How do Levites get money? By you giving 5 shekels to your firstborn. What he has done is created a structure that he has said, I am going to have my Levites, that is going to be my firstborns, that are going to be separated, and they're going to do for a living. They're going to honor my sanctuary. They're going to do my sacrifices. They're going to be my teachers. They're going to be the protector of my Torah. And in doing so, I will reward them by giving them food and money, because they are mine. So everything that you take to the sanctuary is the Levites, because the Levites are his portion. How? Because food is not enough. What if they need to buy something? This is how you are repaying the Most High, by repaying his servants at this time, which are the Levitical priests. Now it comes full circle, right? This is why he's telling you, hey, you better go bring this, because I need my sanctuary, my temple to be taken care of. And they can't be taken care of if my people are starving, if they don't have money to provide, if they can't survive and they're worried about how they're going to feed their families, then how can they truly give all to my temple and keep my priestly duties at top tier righteous order? So the Levites get the best. You give them the firstborn, you give them the unblemished, because they are the Most High's portion. So when you redeem when you redeem your firstborn, you're giving to his sanctuary, which honors the Most High, because you're giving it to the people that are doing it for a living. And a lot of the times with the scribes that you see in times are Levites. Levites has been a prominent, obviously, position all throughout the canon, specifically in the Old Testament. And this is why they are his portion. Everything resolved around the Levitical priest in a sense of the sanctuary and the laws. All of it went through them. And so he took care of them. And that's where it all connects. Hope that makes sense now. And so when you go and it correlates to the churches of the churchianity, all the religions, and they still want to take tithings. Tithing is not a donation. Tithing is given to the Most High, and it's usually given in a form of food. Tithing is given in the form of food, of either your crops or your animals. It's not given in the form of money. The only time you see really money, yes, there is alms, there is donations, but those are not commandments. The redemption of your firstborn of 5 shekels is a commandment that has to keep going for the temple and the priesthood to survive in a sense of financial state, and the sacrifices for food. So the church is totally, of course, just totally butchered it. This is more, and we'll get more in tithing as we get to through the book of Leviticus. This is what Torah portions is about. The Levites, if we read, the Levites don't give their portion. All right. What did you say in 45? Take the Levites instead of the firstborn among the children of Israel, the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle. The Levites shall be mine. The Levites don't give their firstborn or their cattle. Everybody else does. It literally says the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle. It's giving them back to themselves. Like, it's different for the Levites. The Levites go by different rules than all the other tribes of Israel. And that's why the Levites, when we get to the land, the Levites don't get a portion of the land either, because the Levites have already been given their portion. The Levites work and all their portion has already been given to them, literally, as we are reading through the Torah right now. All right. All right. But there is still like truth in it, in the sense of giving alms, donation, and even though like the redeeming, we don't have a sanctuary, but it is good to give. And as we see, it is good to give. It's not a bad thing to give to people that is honoring the Most High, that is putting work in the Most High, because the Most High shows us how important it is. He's like, I'm going to make this so important. I'm going to separate my Levites from the rest of the tribes of Israel, and I'm going to make sure they're taken care of because their jobs are that important. So there's nothing wrong with giving, but understand the purpose of giving and how you should be giving, so you are not deceived in giving the money by some money-hungering baboon, okay? Nimrod. All right. All right. Back to the reading. Let's read, we're back in, let's finish Exodus 13, 17 through 22. And we are here officially at the Exodus. I hope everyone caught on to that. There's a ton of comments in the section. I try to skim through and see if I needed to answer anything. I think everyone's catching on, but okay. Let's finish this reading. I got to keep it going, because I don't want to keep it too long, right? I think I got my point across, so let's keep it moving. 17 through 22.
And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, for God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. But God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. And they took their journey from Succoth, and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people.
All right. Go to the Targum. We're going to read, I went up. We're going to read 13, verse 17. All right. So we see a much bigger paragraph here in this verse. This is verse 17. So just in comparison, this is what is being expounded upon in the Targum. And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that Elohim led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, for Elohim said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. But I actually wanted to, no, I can go ahead and read this. So this is what it's going to expound on right now, okay? And it was when Pharaoh had released the people that the Adon did not conduct them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was the near one. For the Most High said, lest the people be affrighted in seeing their brethren who were killed in a war. Which war? Once again, the book of Jasher gives us a precept here. 200,000 men, even though this number is not an accurate number, but it is what it is, of the strength of the tribe of Ephraim, or one of them isn't. Jasher, that's the only thing. The story is exactly the same in the Jasher, which we're going to read in a second, but just this number is wrong. Who took shields and lances and weapons of war, and went down to Gath to carry off the flocks of the Philistines, because they transgressed against the statute of the word of the Adon, and went forth from Mizraim 3 years before the appointed end of their servitude. Y'all hear that? I see people all the time talking about we need to like have a mass exodus, and a lot of people trying to go back to Africa, which they ain't even from there, and all of this stuff. And it's just like, remember, the word will come and rescue you. Do not try to leave your servitude or your land of captivity too early. He will come and get his people. They were delivered into the hand of the Philistines, who slew them. These are the dry bones which the word of the Most High restored to life by the ministry hand of Ezekiel the prophet in the vow of Durah, but which, if they now saw them, they would be afraid and return to Egypt. So let's go to that story in the book of Jasher. Got to go back a little bit. I waited to go over this story because it didn't really matter until right now. So we're going to go back to chapter 75 in the book of Jasher. And we're going to read the whole chapter of 75. And at that time, so this was, I think it said it was 3 years before the Exodus. And at that time, in the 180th year of the Israelites going down into Egypt, there went forth, or more, because 180th, yeah, it'd be 210. They went forth from Egypt, valiant men, 30,000 on foot, from the children of Israel, who were all of the tribe of Joseph, the children of Ephraim, the son of Joseph. So we just saw that. It was the sons of Ephraim that try to leave early. And they said the period was completed, which the Adon had appointed to the children of Israel in the times of old, which he has spoken to Abraham. And these men girded themselves, and they put each man his sword at his side, and every man his armor upon him, and they trusted to their strength. And they went out together from Egypt with a mighty hand. And they brought no provisions for the road, only silver and gold. Not even bread for that day did they bring in their hand. For they thought of getting their provisions for a pay from the Philistines, and if not, they would take it by force. And these men were very mighty and valiant men. One man could pursue 1,000, and two could rout 10,000. So they trusted in their strength and went together as they were. And they directed their course towards the land of Gath. And they went down and found the shepherds of Gath feeding the cattle of the children of Gath. And they said to the shepherds, give us some of the sheep for pay, that we may eat, for we are hungry, for we have eaten no bread this day. And the shepherds said, are they our sheep or cattle that we should give them to you even for pay? So the children of Ephraim approached to take them by force. And the shepherds of Gath shouted over them that their cry was heard at a distance. So all the children of Gath went out to them. And when the children of Gath saw the evil doing of the children of Ephraim, they returned and assembled the men of Gath, and they put on each man his armor and came forth to the children of Ephraim for battle. And they engaged with them in the valley of Gath, and the battle was severe, and they smote from each other each other a great many on that day. And on the second day, the children of Gath sent to all the cities of the Philistines that they should come to their help, saying, come up upon us, unto us, and help us, that we may smite the children of Ephraim, who have come forth from Egypt to take our cattle and to fight against us without cause. Now the souls of the children of Ephraim was exhausted with hunger and thirst, for they had eaten no bread for 3 days. And 40,000 men went forth from the cities of the Philistines to the assistance of the men of Gath. And these men were engaged in battle with the children of Ephraim, and the Most High delivered the children of Ephraim into the hands of the Philistines. And they all smote all the children of Ephraim, all who had gone forth from Egypt. None were remaining but 10 men who had run away from the engagement. For this evil was from the Most High against the children of Ephraim, for they transgressed the word. It ain't capitalized, but even the book of Jasher knows what's up. The word of the Most High in going forth from Egypt, before the period had arrived, which the Most High in the days of old had appointed to Israel. Don't try to be your own savior. In other words, and of the Philistines also there fell a great many, about 20,000 men, and their brethren carried them and buried them in the cities. And the slain of the children of Ephraim remained forsaken in the valley of Gath for many days and years, and were not brought to burial. And the valley was filled with men's bones. And the men who had escaped from the battle came to Egypt and told all the children of Israel all that had befallen them. And their father Ephraim mourned over them for many days, and their brethren came to console him. And he came unto his wife, and she bare a son, and she called his name Beriah, for she was unfortunate in his house. All right. And that is why they went the path of the Red Sea. It can only truly be found in chapter 75 of the book of Jasher, which is why in the canon, it gives us the precepts to go to the book of Jasher so we can get the understanding of these events. All right. And then last but not least, I also forgot to insert this in here. Put this Genesis 50, 25. And this is just a precept prophecy for and Moses for verse 19. Let me put verse 19. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straightly sworn the children of Israel, saying, Elohim will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you. And that can be found in Genesis 50:25. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Yasharallah, saying, Elohim will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. And that will complete chapter 13 of the book of Exodus. And I've been thinking about this quite often, so I'm going to expound on it just a little bit. We think about the being removed in the Exodus. I want to go back to Lot. Growing in the word is realizing Lot wasn't a righteous man. Abraham had to plead for Lot to be removed, and it was the grace of Abraham that he was removed. But if you remember, when the Most High has placed judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah, he said there was not one found righteous. And when Abraham was like, well, what about 50 righteous, 40, 30, 20, 10? There was not found one, and Lot was a part of that. And I bring that up because I want us to remember that nobody needs to plead for your spot in the Exodus. You got you. And that's why Lot's wife and Lot's children, daughters, all fell into sin because he never was righteous. Abraham was upholding Lot this entire time. And so I'm just saying that because the Most High removes his people from tribulation, from judgment, if you're not worthy of that judgment. So just throwing it out there. The Most High will always rescue and remove his people. Always. Just throwing it out there. All right, we're going to move to chapter 14 now. We're going to read 1 through 22. Let's get it.
Exodus 14. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pi Hahiroth, between Migdal and the sea, over against Baal-zephon. Before it shall ye encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land. The wilderness hath shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh, and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people, and they said, Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot, and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with an high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea, beside Pi Hahiroth, before Baal-Zebon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord, and they said unto Moses, Because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his host, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed, and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face, and stood behind them. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left.
So, woo, we are at the Red Sea parting. All right. Let's get it. We're going to go into the Targum, and I'm going to jump around a little bit to 2 and 3, 9 and 10, 13 through 15. Get all of these details now. So 2 and 3, let's get it. Speak to the sons of Yasharallah that they return back and encamp before the mouths of Huratha as they lie. And we see where they encamped in the canon, like it's pretty much, it's the same deity. So we see, this is what it's talking about. Okay, where they camp. So in other words, Baal Zepon, or, every book kind of spells them different, but he told them to encamp in front of an idol. And we're going to see why. Took them and kept them by the sea beside. So out of all, you're telling me out of the entire sea, he told them to camp right by an idol. Let's read into it. Oops. As they lie, created after the manner of likeness of the children of men, male and female, and their eyes open to them. It is the place of Tains, which is between Migdol and the sea, before the idol Zephon, Typhon. And that's what I was saying. This is same place, same God, idol. That is left of all the idols of Mizraim. For the Egyptians will say, more excellent. So remember, all the idols were destroyed. He left an idol and he said, can't buy this idol. For the Egyptians will say, more excellent is Baal Zephon than all the idols, because it is left and not smitten. Therefore will they come to worship it, and will find that you are encamped nigh unto it on the border of the sea. And verse 3 as well. And Pharaoh said to Dathan and Miriam, Abibram, sons of Israel, who had remained in Egypt. So once again, we talked about this in the beginning. There are Egyptians that hearken to the word and was a part of the mixed multitude, and there are Israelites that hearken to the Egyptians and stayed in Egypt. And here's two of them. The people of the house of Israel are bewildered in the land, and the idol of Zephon hath shut them in close upon the desert. All right, so this is what's going on, why in detail, why they are told to camp right by an idol by the sea is to be a part of deceiving the Egyptians, for them to be hardened with pride all over again. So that's what's going on. And then we have two backstabbers, two people that betrayed his own people, that's telling Pharaoh exactly where they are, and et cetera, et cetera. So let's keep going now to verse 9 and 10 and staying here. And the Egyptians followed after them and camped upon them as they were encamped by the sea, gathering of pearls and goodly stones, which the river Pison had carried from the Garden of Eden into the Gihon. And the Gihon had carried into the Sea of Suph. This is the Red Sea. So I'm just going to say Red Sea so we stay knowing what we're talking about. Into the Red Sea. And the Red Sea had cast upon its bank. But all the chariot horses of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his host were coming towards the mouth of Hiratha, which are before the idol Zephon. Verse 10. And Pharaoh saw the idol Zephon still preserved and offered oblations before it. And the children of Israel lifted up their eyes and beheld the Egyptians were pursuing them, and they were sorely afraid. And the children of Israel prayed before the Most High. And then now we're going to go to 13 through 15. So we're just adding more details to what we just read. And this right here is interesting, and it is also confirmed in the book of Jasher. And this is, let's see, verse 13 in the canon. This is what it reads for verse 13 in the canon. And Moses said to the people, "Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Most High." It's much more than that. So we'll see. Oh, well, it says, stand still and see the salvation, which he will show you this day. And then he also says, for the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. So let's go to the Targum. 4 parties were made among the sons of Israel on the shore of the weedy sea. One said, "Let us go down into the sea." Another said, "Let us return into Egypt." Another said, "Let us set against them the line of battle." And another said, "Let us raise a cry against them and confound them." Unto the company which said, so these different phrases spoken about is spoken to different groups, as we're about to read. Unto the company which said, "Let us go down to the sea," spoke Moses, "Fear not, stand still and see the salvation of the Adon, which will be wrought for you today." To the company which said, "Let us return into Egypt," Moshe said, "You shall not return, for you see the Egyptians today. You will see them no more forever." To the company who said, "Let us set against them the line of battle," Moses said, "Contend not, for the victory shall be wrought among you from the precious presence of the Most High." And to the company who said, "Let us raise a cry against them," Moses said, "Be silent and give the glory and praise and his exaltation to your Elohim." All right, so we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna see a version of this in the book of Jasher, that there are, separations like in any group of people, especially masses of people, right? Everyone has different ideas and thoughts of what's best for them and their families, and this is what's getting spoken about right here. And then one more verse. And Hayah said to Moshe, why standest thou praying before me? Behold, the prayers of my people have come before thy own. Speak to the sons of Israel that they go forward. And we spoke before, and it says, raise thy staff. I guess, if you're raising your staff, I'm going to say with one hand, because, I don't know, raising it with two hands don't feel right. You raise your staff, I'm raising mine, one hand as high as I can, parting that Red Sea as Moses was commanded to do so. Sorry, boo, I have to say one-handed, okay? All right, so let's go to Jasher, chapter 81. Six through 39. Let's get it. And the Egyptians buried all their firstborn, whom the Most High has smitten, and all the Egyptians buried their slain for 3 days. And the children of Israel traveled from Succoth and encamped in Elath at the end of the wilderness. And on the third day, after the Egyptians had buried their firstborn, many men rose up from Egypt and went after Israel to make them return to Egypt. For they repented that they had sent the Israelites away from their servitude. And one man said to his neighbor, surely Moses and Aaron spoke to Pharaoh, saying, we will go a 3 days journey in the wilderness and sacrifice to the Most High, our Elohim. Now, therefore, let us rise up early in the morning and cause them to return. And it shall be that if they return with us to Egypt, to their master, then shall we know that there is faith in them. But if they will not return, then we will fight with them and make them come back with great power and a strong hand. And all the nobles of Pharaoh rose up in the morning, and when with them about 700,000 men. I'm surprised there's still that many people alive, right? And they went forth from Egypt on that day and came to the place where the children of Israel were. And all the Egyptians saw, and behold, Moses and Aaron and all the children of Israel were sitting before this idol, eating and drinking and celebrating the feast of the Most High. And all the Egyptians said to the children of Israel, surely you said we will go a journey for 3 days in the wilderness to sacrifice to our Elohim and return. And now, therefore, this day make 5 days since you went. Why do you not return to your masters? And Moses and Aaron answered them, saying, because the Most High, our Elohim, has testified in us, saying, you shall no more return to Egypt, but we will betake ourselves to a land flowing with milk and honey, as the Most High, our Elohim, has sworn to our ancestors to give us. And when the nobles of Egypt saw that the children of Israel did not hearken to them to return to Egypt, they girded themselves to fight with Israel. And the Most High strengthened the hearts of the children of Israel over the Egyptians, that they gave them a severe beating. And the battle was sore upon the Egyptians. And all the Egyptians fled from before the children of Israel, for many of them perished by the hand of Israel. So there was a small battle by the Red Sea right here in the first encounter of the Egyptians coming to take them back. And the nobles of Pharaoh went to Egypt and told Pharaoh, saying, the children of Israel have fled and will no more return to Egypt. And in this manner did Moses and Aaron speak to us. And Pharaoh heard this thing in his heart, and the hearts of all his subjects were turned against Israel, and they repented that they had sent Israel. And all the Egyptians advised Pharaoh to pursue the children of Israel to make them come back to their burdens. And they said, each man to his brother, what is this which we have done, that we have sent Israel from our servitude? And the Most High strengthened the hearts of all the Egyptians to pursue the Israelites, for the Most High desired to overthrow the Egyptians in the Red Sea. And Pharaoh rose up and harnessed his chariot, and he ordered all the Egyptians to assemble. Not one man was left excepting the little ones and the women. And all the Egyptians went forth with Pharaoh to pursue the children of Israel. And the camp of Egypt was an exceedingly large and heavy camp, about 100,000 men. And the whole of this camp went and pursued the children of Israel to bring them back to Egypt, and they reached them encamping by the Red Sea. And the children of Israel lifted up their eyes and beheld all the Egyptians pursuing them. And the children of Israel were greatly terrified at them. And the children of Israel cried to the Most High. And on the account of the Egyptian, the children of Israel divided themselves into 4 divisions. There we go. What we just read in the Targums, there's the 4 divisions. And they were divided in their opinions, for they were afraid of the Egyptians, and Moses spoke to each of them. The first division was the children of Reuben, Simeon, and Issachar, and they resolved to cast themselves into the sea, for they were exceedingly afraid of the Egyptians. Moses said to them, fear not, stand still and see the salvation of the Most High, which he will effect this day for you. The second division was the children of Zebulun, Benjamin, and Naphtali, and they resolved to go back to Egypt with the Egyptians. Boo. And Moses said to them, fear not, for as you have seen the Egyptians this day, so shall you see them no more forever. The third division was of the children of Judah and Joseph. They resolved to go to meet the Egyptians to fight with them. Who would have guessed that Judah would have been the tribe ready to fight? I mean, right? Of course it would be the tribe of Judah. And Moses said to them, stand in your places, for the Edom will fight for you, and you shall remain silent. And the fourth division was of the children of Levi, Gad, and Asher, and they resolved to go into the midst of the Egyptians to confound them. And Moses said to them, remain in your stations, and fear not, only call unto the Most High, that he may save you out of their hands. How much am I reading? Let me see. 39. We're in the verse 39. After this, Moses rose up from the midst of the people, and he prayed to the Most High and said, O Adon, Elohim of the world, whole earth, save now thy people whom thou didst bring forth from Egypt, and let not the Egyptians boast that power and might are theirs. So the Adon said to Moses, why dost thou cry unto me? Speak to the children of Israel that they shall proceed, and do thou stretch out thy rod upon the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall pass through it. And Moses did so, and he lifted up his rod upon the sea and divided it. And the waters of the sea were divided into, here's the interesting, listen, the waters of the sea were divided into 12 parts. And the children of Israel passed through on foot with shoes, as a man would pass through a prepared road. And the Adon manifested to the children of Israel his wonders in Egypt and in the sea by the hand of Moses and Aaron. So it was divided into 12 parts. That's interesting, very interesting. Obviously, with the 12 tribes, right? All right, so let's get back to chapter 14, and we are now going to finish 14, 23 through 31.
And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the...
Hold on, my bad. 23. I'm looking at the wrong precept. 23 through 31.
Midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and believed in the Lord and his servant Moses.
Amen. So be it. All right, so let's go into the Targum. Verse 24. And it was that in the morning watch, at the time that the powers on high come to offer praise, the Adon looked forth with anger upon the host of the Mizraim from the column of fire, to hurl upon them flakes of fire and hail, and from the column of cloud, and confounded the hosts of the Mizraim. If you remember when we in the Torah portion about when Jacob is called Israel for the first time, Yasharallah, right? And in the Targums, I didn't have this prepared, so we just gonna speak it. In the Targums, he says, I have to go, it's my time to praise, and the sun was rising. Just an interesting correlation with this right here. In the morning watch, at the time that the powers on high come to offer praise. How that just correlates with that story. And then we see that legit, the Most High was fighting the good fight for them. That column of fire was throwing flakes of fire and hell and all of that at the Egyptians. And that, I mean, could you imagine that, trying to fight a column of fire? I mean, man, ridiculous. Just trying to imagine that. All right, back into the book of Jasher, 40 through 44. And when the children of Israel had entered the sea, the Egyptians came after them, and the waters of the sea resumed upon them, and they all sank in the water. Not one man was left excepting Pharaoh. Pharaoh was saved, if you didn't know, who gave thanks to the Most High and believed in him. Therefore, the Most High did not cause him to perish at the time with the Egyptians. And the Most High ordered an angel to take him from amongst the Egyptians, who cast him upon the land of Nineveh, and he reigned over it for a long time. So they sent him to a new land, and he reigned over it. And I mean, assuming he kept the faith, anything's possible. And on that day, the Most High saved Israel from the hand of Egypt, and all the children of Israel saw the Egyptians had perished, and they beheld the great hand of the Most High in what he had performed in Egypt and in the sea. And then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, Haya, on the day when the Most High caused the Egyptians to fall before them. And all Israel sang in concert, saying, I will sing to the Most High, for he is greatly exalted. The horse and his rider has he cast into the sea. Behold, it is written in the book of the law of Elohim, which is the Torah. Could you imagine being in New Jerusalem and you meet the Pharaoh from Exodus? Could you imagine if this Pharaoh actually really repented and kept the faith that he could actually be there? I mean, sounds like it's possible. Good connection. The same place. Wow, the same place where Jonah was sent, telling them to repent. That's interesting, Liz. All right, where am I? So we got the songs they sang, and Moses sang and the children sang the song to the Most High, which leads us to Exodus 15, the last of this portion, which is the song of Moses, the song of deliverance, whichever. Here we are. Let's read it.
Exodus 15. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and he is become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him an habitation, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war, the Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them, they sank into the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Lord, is become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, hath dashed in pieces the enemy. And in the greatness of thine excellency thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sentest forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. And with the blast of thy nostrils the waters were gathered together. The floods stood upright as an heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them. They sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? Thou stretchest out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, shall take hold upon them. All the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of thine arm they shall be as still as a stone, till thy people pass over, O Lord, till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Thou shalt bring them in, and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and with his horsemen into the sea, and the Lord brought again the waters of the sea upon them. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. And Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea.
Which we just read in the book of Jasher. The horse and the rider has been thrown in the sea. Let me see. Then saying, Moses and the children of Israel and all Israel sang in concert, saying, I will sing to the Most High, for he is greatly exalted. The horse and his rider has he cast into the sea. And I'm not going to read it, but I encourage you, if you know, you can, there's multiple links online to find the Aramaic Targum, Jonathan. But if you want, you can go to Exodus 15 and read the whole chapter. You know, it's a little bit more explanatory. Y'all know by now the Aramaic Targum just has a little bit more to say. So y'all can go and just read all of this in your own free time there. It's a lot of good stuff in here. All right. But last little precepts here that we get out of chapter 15, we see in Job. Let me see, verse. Let's see. All right, I ain't gonna jump around. Let's go back here. So talking about Pharaoh and his pride and his wickedness, that what he wanted to oppose on the children of Israel regardless. And we see the connection of them being thrown in the sea as well. We have Leviathan, the sea creature. This is Job 41:1, in that he beholdeth all high things. He is a king over all the children of pride. I am slowly getting stuff together to do a marine kingdom study centered around Leviathan and all of these symbols throughout all scripture, because this the Exodus story, the Red Sea is in the plagues of the turning the water into blood. And all of these things are connected, just like here in Pharaoh and his people being prideful and wicked, getting thrown into the sea, and etc. is all connected. So just want to make that connection with the sea and Leviathan and pride. And then we have Numbers 23:19. Elohim is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Has he said, oh, I don't need to keep reading. So our creator is not a man or a son of man. We got to understand this. So when we're reading, and in verse 3, the Most High is a man of war. Haya is his name. This is clearly talking about Messiah, is my point. Our creator is not a man, but his image is. And who's coming back as a man of war? His image, Messiah. This is Messiah in the Old Testament as clear as day, or we're contradicting scripture if there isn't a man in his image or an angel in the image of man, vice versa, either or. And last but not least, Revelation 15:1-4. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. That sounds like something similar to Exodus, right? For in them is filled up with the wrath of Elohim. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass. Once again, we were just talking about the waters, a sea of glass mingled with fire. Fire is judgment. Sea represents iniquity. And them that had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass. Look at there. The sea that is getting judged, they stand on it, having the harps of Elohim. And then they do the same thing. Right after the Red Sea, they sing the song of Moses. Well, that's what happens in Revelation. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Elohim, the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Adon Elohim Almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Adon, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy, For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. Shabbat Shalom. What a study. Absolutely love this Torah portion. All glory to our Creator for giving us these mighty works to read about and to exalt him. Shabbat Shalom. Pray to see y'all next week, starting the back half of chapter 15 for the 16th week Torah portion. Once again, Shabbat Shalom and bless.